Hi, my name is Dimitri Zaitsev, and I'm the creative director of Dustwind, a real-time post-apocalyptic computer game which just came out on Steam as a full release. You guys should really check it out if you like fast but deep action, and also shooting plungers at your opponent's face.
Right guys, welcome to upcoming games. Myself and Drac shall be talking your ears off about video games, one of my true loves, and definitely Drac's true love. He married a video game, I think. I think he did, yes. Drac, say hi.
Hola.
Never just a simple hello. Never just a simple hi. Never just a simple howdy. Just a hola, chiquitita.
Well, I mean, I suppose if you want, I could do that, and tell you what, I'll do it for where you live at. How about that? Hello, governor.
Oh God! Oh, of course it'll be hello, governor. Of course it'll be the governor. Of course. I mean, you couldn't just say, "Hey up, mate." You couldn't just say that, could you? No. It has to be the hello, governor. Cockney. You know, there's more accents in Britain alone than what there is across most other countries, you know.
Oh, yeah. I've seen a bunch of different accents. I couldn't pick them all out.
Hang on. You've seen accents? What?
Yes, I have. I see sounds.
I'm about to say, what LSD are you tripping on, son?
I should say I've seen plenty of movies and shows with different accents, though I can't pick them all out. But one of my favorite was Guy Ritchie's, the movie he did, Snatch, with Brad Pitt. Man, if you can understand those guys, good luck.
That's Cockney, right? My favorite one, no word of a lie, is what they call Scouse, Liverpudlian, right? It sounds like they're talking through a walkie-talkie. It's a great, I love it. I really do. I love it. Anyway, guys, we're going to talk about games and not people's accents. Drac, you did the hard work for this week's episode. What do you have on the chopping block?
Well, we'll start out with September 4th, and we've got a couple things that day. First one is a game called Genesis Alpha 1. This is from Radiation Blue, Team 17. It'll be out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. I don't have a price for it yet. But it's an action-adventure space survival. Basically, when I was looking at this, it kind of looks to me something like, think of No Man's Sky, but with better base or shipbuilding and potentially more action. There's a little bit of action in No Man's Sky. I've only just started playing that when the release of Next came out. But this one looks like it's going to have quite a bit more action involved in the gameplay.
And No Man's Sky, just since you brought it up there, is actually making a pretty good comeback. A lot of people are actually pleased. You know, it's very, 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 it's not very often that a games developer pleases, you know, the audience that it's let down. So, yeah, well done, guys, for that.
Yeah, and the multiplayer has been kind of fun. When I do get online and play that, I've been playing with a buddy of mine. We've been having a pretty good time, so I'm glad that they finally did include that the way that it should have been.
Right, guys, so 4th of September, Genesis Alpha 1 from Radiation Blue Team 17. Guys, as you know, on the 4th of September, Destiny 2's Forsaken DLC from Bungie comes out as well. PC, PS4, Xbox One, $39.99. I had to do that, I'm sorry. I just, whenever I see this, you know, the 99, I can't help but think of the, what's that old show where you guess the prices of stuff?
Oh, The Price is Right.
The Price is Right, and they go 99. I just love that sort of accent. It's great. Anyway, yeah, great. So yeah, new locations, new game modes, subclasses, supers, stories, weapons, the full bang works. So you'll be paying $40, £50 if you're in the UK. I believe it's 50 quid to play certain maps backwards, and you know, maybe have a super upside down as well. Maybe, you never know.
Well, they are going to have some new areas. This one called the Tangled Shore looks to be pretty interesting. So, yeah, they've made a lot of improvements. Some of the community has been happy with that. Some not. Still, wanting to see some things changed, so I guess closer to what it was like with Destiny 1. The interesting thing here is a lot of games are doing this, and I'm starting to get a little bit annoyed of it. And you'll hear us bring it up with some of the other games even coming up here in September. These multiple versions. So yeah, you got $40 for the standard version, you got $70 for that with an annual pass, and then you got $80 for the digital deluxe version. And I think I've even seen something for like $99.99 for some type of legendary version. Whether or not each or any of these versions is the right version for you, I'd suggest follow the link in the description here and, look and see what comes with each version. Because unless you're a collector, probably the standard version will be fine. If you're not going to be, if you just want to go in and play the story, standard version should be fine. But if you're looking to go in and play through the seasonal content, it might be worth it to pick up the annual pass as well. But that's just going to depend. I think that annual pass includes they said it was going to have some things that were going to be unique to that annual pass. So if you didn't have the annual pass, you still might have access to some of the content, but not some of those other incentives.
You see, this is the thing, right? When it comes to me looking at this with my sort of pointing the finger saying that's the bullshit, right there sort of thing. Shouldn't the standard pass have the annual pass in it already, and then you build on the deluxe, gold, silver, bronze tiers? So not only have you got the cheap version, where you can just play, the vanilla game, but if you want to play the game, you've got to then have the annual pass. But shouldn't you already be paying for the game that you're already playing because you paid for the game, and you're entitled to the rest of the game that you've paid for?
It is the $40 version.
I know it's a bit of a word twister there, but fuck, seriously.
Yeah, it is. The $40 version is for the DLC. So of course, you have to have already owned the game. One of the things I find a little bit annoying with this is I've seen a version out there where you can buy the original game, comes with all the content that's already been released, plus this, and I think it's either $59 or $69. And my annoyance with that is it's like, well, darn it, I already paid $60 to get the game, and then the season pass. I'd like to, since I already own that, I'd like to get a discount on the DLC.
Well, believe it or not, they did that in Destiny, the original Destiny, which really bugged me and really gripped my shit when it was flying. Seriously, I played for Destiny the whole bang shooter. I even got one of them little goats with goats. God, I'm that tired. Too much beer. Yeah, I know. God, I'm tired. Sorry, I've had too much beer. Ghosts, right? Little red ghosts with Dinklebots, right? I love my Dinklebots. I love them to bits. And, played it through halfway through the year. They come up with the Ultimate Awesome Amazing Edition for cheaper than what the thing was. And it came for the entire package. The game, all the DLC, and then it's like, hang on. I've just been ripped off here. So, honestly, when Destiny 3 comes out, I'm going to wait for that, and then I'm going to basically buy the $59.99. Not only do I get the Year 3 content, I get the Year 2 content and the Year 1 content, and I get basically 3 games in one, and poor buggers, have paid 3, 4, 5, 6 times the amount I've paid.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword there. The early adopters, of course, is typical, pay more, and then the folks who wait get a better bargain, but... yeah, I guess that's just the way it is.
It's just frustrating, Drac. It is just frustrating. Right, what is next, my good sir?
Well, anyway, from one big title to another, let's move on to the next one. A week later, on the 14th of September, we have Shadow of the Tomb Raider from Eidos and Square Enix. Be out on PC, PS4, and Xbone. Again, with multiple versions. We got $59.99 for the standard, $69.99 for the deluxe, and $89.99 for what they're calling the Croft Edition.
Hang on, did you say Croft Edition?
I did.
Are we going to be parading dogs?
That reference is lost on me.
Crofts, are you joking? Dude, seriously?
Yeah, the only Croft I know is Lara Croft.
Oh, dude! And I think maybe Crofts is probably what you've probably heard of. I was trying to make a reference towards Crofts. Do you know what that is?
No.
A huge, massive dog display where they pick out the best looking Chihuahua and the best Shih Tzu and the most massivest Great Dane. Basically, it's a modelling contest for dogs.
I think here they just call that something like Best in Show or something. I can't remember. I don't really pay any attention to that stuff.
Unfortunately, in the UK, it's quite a big thing, so you tend to hear about it a lot. Yeah. There we go. Talk about a derailment of that game. Tomb Raider's been... I think Tomb Raider's done. Personally, I think it's been hacked to death. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I've been really enjoying them reinventing this character the way that they have. And I know I played Rise of the Tomb Raider. That was a lot of fun to play through. And I'm enjoying the stories that they're telling, with the younger version of Lara, and seeing how she's, how they're developing the character into what will someday be known as, this female Indiana Jones, badass character.
Netflix will have a season on her soon, don't worry.
Well, we had a Tomb Raider movie with Alicia Vikander, and I thought she did really well with it. In fact, I'd like to see more, so I'll cross my fingers for that as well. I will say, though, with the different versions here, from what I was looking at, sorry, but I think the deluxe version is kind of a waste of money. You get like an extra weapon and outfit or something like that for $10. And unless you're, again, a collector, I don't know that I would spend the money on the Croft edition. However, there is some nice content, and it does come with the season pass. So if you want to pay beyond just the initial story, then the Croft edition might actually be worth it for you.
To be fair, the season pass is what you want, because if you want to play the game or want to play everything the game offers, the season pass is what you want. And if you're going to get the season pass and it's in the Croft edition, and you happen to get a Lara Croft model, well, bonus.
I don't remember seeing anything about a statue. I'd have to look again to be sure, but I don't remember seeing anything for that $90 price. I think it was just the game with the season pass.
I'm pretty sure there is. I'm probably thinking of a different game, but you know what? I think I'm thinking of a different game here. But oh god, what was that? Anyway, yeah, different game. Must be a different game. Anyway, guys, 18th of September, The Bard's Tale 4, Barrows Deep. Yay! This one's for G. Just G.
Not just G.
No. You're not allowed to play. Just G. The only game we have featured here that has a Mac or Linux. It's just G.
Actually,
just
no. This and the next two we'll talk about are available on Mac and Linux as well.
No, but G can't play Pathfinder. He doesn't like them types of games. He wants this one. Bard's Tale 4, Barrows Deep. This is G's game to a T. RPG dungeon crawler with turn-based combat. He loves that type of game.
Yeah, the cool thing about this one is they kind of went about creating a game with an old school feel to it. And when I say that, I'm talking about like the old Eye of the Beholder games back in like the DOS days.
Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
It's very much that kind of look and that type of mechanic as far as how you move around, and it's all turn-based. And that look, although, well, maybe the old Eye of the Beholder games might have been real-time instead of turn-based. But either way, of course, it has updated graphics and it looks really neat. I remember playing some of the old Bard's Tale games too. At least when I was younger, I found them to be rather difficult. One of those games, I think I had a list of dead characters like a mile long.
Believe it or not, G keeps going on about his Commodore 64. These are the sorts of games that sort of spawned from, the Commodore 64. These are the types of games that spawned from the Commodore 64. So he will love this type of game. G, this game's for you, bro. Bam, have a thumb up of approval. There we go. Done.
Well, and you mentioned Pathfinder, but I'm wondering if you're confusing it, because there are some Pathfinder games. So on the 25th of September, there's a game coming out called Pathfinder Kingmaker, and it's from Owlcat Games, published by Deep Silver. And you might recognize the name Deep Silver if you've played games like Saints Row or the Metro series, because they've published those as well. This Pathfinder game isn't the same as some of the other Pathfinder games that are on Steam. The reason for the name, though, is because it's based off of the tabletop role-playing system called Pathfinder.
Okay, I think I had it confused with something else. If it's going to be that one, I think this is also a game for the G.
Yeah, that was kind of my point.
I'm having to agree with your point, sir. Well made, well executed.
But this is another one that looks neat, and if you're a fan of RPG games, this is definitely be something you should check out. As far as it has several different, or at least two different editions. There's a regular edition for $39.99, and then there's an $84.99 edition where you can get some different things. If you're a fan and a collector, then maybe the Imperial Edition might work for you, but I'd say probably most folks, Standard Edition is probably fine.
You see, when it comes to games like this, the sort of the dungeon crawlers, the turn-based, the RPGs, I can get behind them, but I've got to be in the mood for them. Whereas someone like G has the patience, has the, I want to say, mental fortitude to start the game and see it through to its end. Whereas I've got to have like fleeting snaps at this sort of game style, and these don't really hit my radar very often. Give me a good RTS game and I'm all over it. But these sort of turn-based sort of tabletop mechanics, you've got to have patience with them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a lot of times for folks that don't have the patience, if you're playing something real-time as opposed to turn-based, then the action is what really gets you and, keeps you involved. But if you enjoy RPGs, if you enjoy top-down RPGs, definitely check this one out. I think it'll be a fun one to play.
Right, guys, that was it from myself, Bamm, Havoc, and Draconis. Thank you very much for letting us talk to you guys about the games that interest us in the month of September. Guys, thank you very much. I will see you guys later. Cheers, bye.
Hey folks, have you ever wondered what it's like to play as an armored tactical dog in a real-time post-apocalyptic game? Well, we've just brought out that game on Steam. It's called Dustwind, and I'm its creative director. Welcome to the podcast.
All right, and we are back from the break. Thanks for sticking with us past the upcoming games segment. Now we have another interview. This week with me, Genius in the Hot Seat, and the Dimitri from Dustwind.
Yep, that's correct, guys. Thanks for having me. Hey G, hey Drac. So I'm the creative director behind the computer game Dustwind, which came out of early access and into full release on Steam this Wednesday. And yeah, you guys can ask me all about it.
So yeah, literally a week ago. And I must say, well, yeah, we're coming out Tuesday, so Wednesday before. Yeah, just short of a week. But it's one of those cute little things. It might be my past, but the moment I see any of these ISO 3D real-time games, real-time strategy, real-time tactical in this case, I always get a little bit excited. Yours look particularly yummy. Might be the explosions.
Thank you. They took a lot of work, and we did them with a lot of passion, because I believe that it's quite important in a game like this that the experience of defeating your enemy or just stepping on a mine yourself and being defeated should reward the user. So I will really take it as a compliment. I'm really glad that the explosions and the gibs and all of that beautiful, brutal stuff is to your liking.
Well, it has to be. I mean, I got into real-time tactical, I guess, back in Syndicate, so 20 years ago.
Whoa.
And back then, the graphics weren't as good, but it was a visceral feedback in the game when you got in a police car and drove people over. And I don't know if that's always what I'm looking for. Again, it's not that I want all the gore, it's just some kind of really feedback in the actions. It's always nice in these games.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. We also put a lot of effort into the system being made in such a way that it doesn't just always gib everything, but those gibs, they actually are triggered by a certain percentage of damage being over your maximum XP or being a critical hit. So if you just barely killed someone, they will just quietly fall over with a light, and that's it, and there is a bit of blood. But if you really have scored a devastating killing hit, their head will explode all over the place. And it was, as you actually said, also for the purpose of giving you an appropriate feedback. There is also sounds of cracking bones when you break someone's limb, which doesn't necessarily mean they're dead. But you hear it, the others hear it, and you know, okay, crap. This guy's whatever is broken now, he needs to heal.
I like that idea. That overkill is directly related to the gore and effects.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think we're jumping ahead a little bit. Why don't we do an overall introduction for folks that haven't necessarily seen what Dustwind is just yet, so they know more or have a better idea exactly what we're talking about.
Sure. So, in a nutshell, and it's one hell of a large nutshell because there are lots of things about Dustwind, but in a nutshell, Dustwind is a post-apocalyptic real-time tactics game. So you can play either various multiplayer modes, such as the classic Team Deathmatch or Capture the Gas, which is the equivalent of Capture the Flag. Just no one cares about flags in the post-apocalypse. You can also play Territory Kill Switch, which is an objective mode, and you can even play cooperative missions with your friends against the environment. But you also can play solo missions if you're all alone, and when you're playing solo, you also get the access to the tactical pause feature. So, all in all, Dustwind is sort of a spiritual successor to Fallout Tactics, but with more of a focus on a multiplayer. And the cool thing about Dustwind, or the many cool things about Dustwind, are that we've made it in such a way that you can experiment with various character builds. So there are no fixed classes. Like, there is no such thing as a sniper, unless you just give your character a shitload of accuracy and a sniper rifle. That makes a sniper. But there is no fixed class sniper. So your sniper can at the same time be a brilliant trapper, or he could be super tanky, or he could be just a glass cannon sniper build. He could have or not have stealth, he could have or not have the healing skill, or maybe some repair skill to repair cars or turrets. So the whole system, the whole character system is really modular. And while there are no fixed classes, there are some interesting races. You can play, for example, as a humanoid robot, or as a Valkyrie, which is a very powerful melee-only unit, or you can even play as a dog. It's more of a support role. Dogs can fire vehicle guns, they can heal, they can throw grenades, they can use all the human skills except the actual human guns, unless they're mounted on a vehicle. Which leads me to my next point. One of the points about Dustwind is, while it offers a deep tactical action gameplay, or just a deep tactical non-action gameplay if you're playing solo with tactical pause, at the same time it offers this fun, or what we call cluster fun component, which is a combination of clusterfuck and fun. You can fire plungers at your opponent's face using them as ammunition for a compound bow. You can kick your opponents into mines. You can climb up a sniper tower with a dog and push the sniper over, causing him to die from fall damage, breaking his neck. So you can do all those kinds of things, and expression by the way that you play as a player, by the way you make your characters, and the things you do in the battlefield, is a very large component behind this game. And as we mentioned previously, all the gore and nice effects, we always get a lot of praise for those, because we put a lot of work into them. So I think at this point I'm talking a lot, and you guys probably have more specific questions.
Oh, that's okay. That's why we have you here, so you could tell us all this stuff. But I think one of the other things you guys probably should get some praise for is the sense of humor that's in the game, because I've really enjoyed that so far as well.
Thank you. That's all me. All my jokes. I had to get past my friend, the lead programmer, who was always like, yeah, whatever, it's unrealistic. And I was like, come on, dude, let's do this. Like, dogs that throw grenades are awesome. And stuff like that. So thank you for that as well. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention was the map editor, which is directly integrated with Steam Workshop. That's yet another way to express yourself. So if you like mapping, we've put a lot of work into the map editor being fast and user-friendly, for a map editor anyway, so that you can create your maps and share them with the community directly, and all of that without even leaving the game. So, mappers are really, really welcome, and we already have over 100 maps total for the co-op mode. Not all of them good, of course, but counting all the user maps and all the official maps, it's over 100 by now.
You know what, honestly, I can say I'm not surprised by that. G and I met through a game called Sword Coast Legends, where they had set up a tool set to be released with the game that was supposed to be very user-friendly and easy to use. And it was, but it didn't have as much functionality as a lot of people were looking for. And G, I don't know if you had a chance to see from the live stream the other night, but this tool set is pretty awesome. I was very impressed with both the capabilities of the tool set and some of the things that are beyond what my capabilities are at the moment. I saw that it looked like you guys had included some way to do like scripting and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, the script system it's not like full-blown visual scripting like in Unreal Engine or whatever. It's far from that. It's fairly basic, but you can do some powerful things with it. For example, you have all sorts of triggers, like when a unit dies, when a certain team enters a zone, this, that, I'm just naming a couple. There is a lot more. I don't have all of them in my head right now. But you can use those triggers and responses to generate some interesting experiences. For example, you could have on a cooperative or solo mission, you could have an objective to kill the boss raider. And once that happens, it updates the objective to complete it. And then a wave of raiders is sent to kill you as a scripted response, as a retaliation. And you have to defend yourself against them. Things like this are totally doable. But what we really like the most, or what I personally like the most as the guy who made all the official maps, or the most of them, is the blueprint system, which is a very quick system for placing your tiles. You'd basically just select what kind of tile set you work with, and then you just draw lines and squares instead of positioning them all manually. There is a wrecking ball tool to delete some tiles, and the surrounding tiles will auto-update themselves to have broken edges going towards where you've just deleted the tile. So it's not just a simple eraser. It's a smart post-apocalyptic eraser, so to speak. There is a quick detailing brush which allows you to, let's say, airdrop garbage onto some selected areas, so you don't have to place each speck of dust and each bush of grass manually, and so on and so forth. I could go on for an hour about all the stuff that the map editor has, but the bottom line is, if you're a mapper, check it out. You will not be disappointed. And also, should there be any questions, just post into our Steam forums in the map editor section, and we will answer.
Okay, now I'm a little bit sad that I haven't tried the map editor.
You should. You should check it out, mate.
Yeah, I'm pondering, Drac just mentioned SCL, and there's a guy there, Redunce something, made the awesomest maps with very basic tools. It'd be interesting to see him let loose on this thing. He goes berserk.
Go ahead. It would be great to have some experienced mappers from the gamers community check out the editor. Yeah.
Yeah, he was phenomenal at set design, and I mean, he would get down into the minutia of all of that, with placing all kinds of different things and decorating the levels.
I'm slightly curious, and Drag, apologies, because you're the guy who really played the game. I just had a quick look. Multiplayer in a real-time tactical scenario. How does that actually work? Because that's one of those, yeah, as you say, you can't have the pause function for starters. A lot of people like to have that option. How do you then get this to work, particularly with all the shooting and pieces flying off of people?
Sure. So, first of all, there is a big difference between cooperative and PvP games. Let's start with cooperative. On the most official maps, you, for starters, have just one character, at least after the recent updates. Well, you can actually set up your server to allow people to take up to 6 characters, which is a bit of a clusterfuck. But on the most maps, you get just one character, and you control that character. And in case you get multiple characters, the usual tactic is to just camp one on a position which is a bit further behind and play with just one, and then keep the other one as reserve. But again, most of the time you have one character. That takes out a lot of hassle. Then you also have the ability to tell your characters to automatically attack targets, which is a core component of the gameplay, so you don't have to aim at everyone at all times. Your characters in all game modes will just auto-attack the closest target in weapon range. So you can also disable that, and you can also set the exact percentage of hit chance required to trigger that auto-attack. So you can say, hey, character this and that, you auto-attack the closest target in weapon range if your hit chances are at least 66%, for example. Usually you also leave that exactly on that setting. If it's at least 66%, they will auto-engage. So the game is not about clicking on your opponents all the time, like this tedious target acquisition thing. The characters do it for you. So you focus on where you are at any particular moment. So it's more about Am I gonna move in now and have my character attack, or am I gonna retreat? Am I gonna use this gun, or am I gonna use that gun? Am I gonna throw a grenade? And so on and so forth. So, with all of that in mind, it actually works quite well. It certainly takes a bit of getting used to for the most people, but what I've seen in the last couple of days is that the people who have started playing at the full release on Wednesday, they were horrible at the start, getting wrecked all the time. And if I look at them now and play with them, some of them are already better than me. And I've been playing this game forever because I'm the developer. So you learn this kind of stuff kind of fast, although it's admittedly a kind of bit untraditional system, because in the most games you're supposed to click, 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 click on your target all the time. In Dustwind, the rule is chill equals kill. So you just stand there, you let your character auto-attack, you move away at the right moment, you move in at the right moment, and that's how you go about it all. You can also do more advanced stuff like healing your teammates and so on and so forth, kicking people in the nuts so they fall over, and that gives you the time to run away or engage them with another weapon and so on and so forth. But the basics of the game really is just movement. You do 90% of it by just positioning your character in the right spot at the right time, letting them attack, or running away and hiding behind cover.
Yeah, I knew we were going to talk about that at some point, and I'm glad you brought it up, because it definitely takes some getting used to, especially for folks that are used to playing games like, top-down RPGs like Diablo and whatnot, things like that. But I'm finding I actually enjoy it more this way, where I'm not having to, have my mouse chase things around the screen, in order to attack them.
Yeah, you get it. That's exactly the way we wanted it to be, so that you can focus on the actual tactics. So while it seems counterintuitive at first, and it might seem like, oh my god, how am I going to control all of this in real time to people who are used to tactical games with more clicking, in reality it's way more relaxed than those games. It just doesn't look that way. It's kind of counterintuitive, but it works out great in the end, in my opinion. And so far, I didn't hear anyone not getting along with it well once they understand that chill equals kill, and that your character's auto-attack.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's definitely fun that way. I like that. And I think...
Thank you.
I want to say, I think I've maybe played, at this point, maybe an hour's worth is all I had a chance to look at so far. So I've still been toying with and playing with things, but so far I'm really enjoying it. A buddy of mine picked it up as well, and we tried a little bit of the co-op. And G, you were asking how that works. Each of us were playing a single character on a map, and I'd say not the chill equals kill extends to how quickly you move through a map too, because if you try to rush the map at all, you end up getting overwhelmed by enemies, or you end up running into an area where some enemies were hidden, and then you're surrounded.
Oh yeah. The co-op is super tactical. Like, there is a huge, enormous difference between PvP missions, especially those PvP matches where you respawn, but even those where you don't, and co-op. Co-op is really about being coordinated as a team, communicating, looting everything, because you will run out of ammo and you will have to loot. So a tip for you, if you haven't figured it out yet, or if you've forgotten it from the tutorial, or for anyone listening and playing Dustwind, if you press Ctrl on your keyboard, it highlights all the active items, including lootables, such as bodies, crates, everything. You will need loot, and you will also need to advance slowly and carefully. And you will need to, even despite that the revive feature being there, you will still need to be very careful, because even if your teammate is lying there knocked out and you could revive them, if they were stupid enough to rush into an area camped by 5 snipers, they're gone. You will have to work really hard and really fast to get rid of those 5 snipers first, and then come back to them and revive them. So co-op is all about careful tactical advancing.
Well, and the enemies don't take it easy on you either. If you're laying there unconscious, they keep shooting you.
Yeah.
That was one thing I noticed that was a big difference from the tutorial to when you actually play, is the tutorial makes you feel a little bit more of a badass than you really are.
Oh, yeah.
And I went in and designed a character with a putting a lot of skills into light weapons and trying to use a bow. I was thinking a bow was going to be more deadly than it was, but then I went in and played, and I think the first couple missions I got wiped.
The secret tip for bow is after you've shot your arrow, you should reload immediately. So the next time you go into engaging the enemy situation, you will not have to reload the arrow first and then shoot. So you shoot, you hide, you reload, then you come out of your cover, and then you shoot again. That's the secret tactics for the bow. And also it gets a bit cooler as you progress and unlock some explosive arrows. So those are devastating.
What is it with games and bows? Apologies, I know it's a little bit, parallel to everything, but why are so many games where you go, oh, you can have this auto rifle, you can have this sniper rifle, all these handguns. Yeah, I'll pick a bow. What's with that? Why, even to the point, so many games I've gone to where they don't have bows, crossbows, etc. You look at forums, there's always players asking for them.
I think it's just, in general, not talking about Dustwind, but in general, there is a certain appeal to this, this feeling or this idea of putting in your own muscle power and tension into that kind of weapon, if you know what I mean. That's at least what it is for me with bows in games and otherwise in general. It is kind of satisfying, the physics of it. Sure, I also love rifles. I love all kinds of weapons. But in a rifle, in quotation marks, I know there is a lot more to it. I'm experienced with shooting rifles. But if all broken down, in the end, you're pulling the trigger. Of course, you have your stance, you have your aim, state of breathing, and so on and so forth. But with a bow, there is just so much more of your own muscle power going into it. Otherwise, I can't tell. But in Dustwind, our main motivation for the bow was that we wanted to have a way to shoot plungers at people. And you can. Plunger is a viable bow ammunition.
I wondered what the plungers were for, because I hadn't seen a use for those yet. But to address your question about why bows in a game when you have things like rifles make lots of noise, and bows are silent, and it can be every bit, sometimes more deadly. So I think it has to do with how you want to play the character.
Drac, I know you're American, Drac. Just saying, over here in Europe, Stan, we have something called silencers you can put on weapons. I know you're not allowed to have them over in the US, but, they exist.
Yeah, but silencers don't work like they do in the movies.
Nope. It's still loud as fuck.
Sorry, compressed.
Yeah, there's still quite a bit of noise.
Yeah, but it helps a little bit.
Oh yeah, it definitely muffles the noise some, but it's not like in the movie where, a loud bang gets turned into a little pew.
Yeah, by the way, that actually was one of the other reasons we had a bow, and we also have this rifle with the silent sound. Originally, like a very, very long time ago, we had experimented with a mechanic which allows you to not lose your sneak state, which you have in Dustwind. In Dustwind, you can sneak, and then you're completely invisible to your enemy for a certain amount of time, but you lose that state as soon as you perform any sort of an attack at all. And we, at some point, had experimented with having the bow and the silenced snakebutt rifle that are still in the game not make you lose that sneak state. But it was just very, very overpowered, so we decided not to go with it. But the bow and the silenced rifle were already created, so nowadays they're just the way they are for aesthetics and visual variety. But we had considered at some point giving them those special abilities, which came out to be overpowered, so we didn't.
All of a sudden I have an image from an old movie where Charlie Sheen, I think it is, picks up a chicken and shoots it on a bow.
Oh, I know what those movies were too. He was like the Rambo character in that one.
Yeah, it's a complete Rambo spoof, that scene. So it just shoots a chicken that goes walk all the way. That would be awesome in games to hear the other players go, what the fuck's going on?
Hot Shots.
Hot Shots, that was the one. Completely off topic. Sorry. I just had that image suddenly in my head.
Well, when he mentioned shooting a plunger from the bow, the first thing I thought of was Green Arrow.
Does Green Arrow shoot plungers from a bow?
I don't know if he's ever shot a plunger, but he has a variety of different arrows, one of which in the comics that I've seen is like a boxing glove to knock people out with.
Yeah, that is perfect comic logic, I guess.
So I guess a lot of times what we'll do in interviews too, we try to ask questions about, who you are, where you're from, and all that. And we kind of we haven't gotten to that yet. We'd like to dive into that a little bit if it's all right. Basically, where in the world are you, and how many make up the development team?
Oh, Jesus. So, I'm in Germany. Our CEO is also in Germany, Andreas. And our lead programmer, nicknamed Goat, is in Hungary. So that's would be the three main people in the team. There is more. There is also people who made assets, such as Johan, the animator from Sweden, or Romina, the 3D girl from Argentina, or Mike, a 3D guy from Romania. So those worked with us for a while as freelancers. But, there is also the sound guys, Sven and Sam, also from Germany. And I could go on and on. Many people contributed to this, but the lead team is two people from Germany, one person from Hungary, and also a lot of supporting people from mostly Germany, but also other countries.
So how did you guys all meet then and start working on this project?
Okay, so Goat and I met playing Fallout Tactics online through Games by Arcade in 2006. So that was actually the main inspiration for the game too, because you see in Fallout Tactics there was a map editor and it could be played online. So we did, and we did our own mods, our own maps. And that's how we got to know each other, and we hung around that game and played it for around 10 years. We continued playing it when no one else did. So we've seen the community become 300 people at some point, then 100 people, then just 30 people, and then it was just us, 5 or so. And I'm speaking about the Games by Arcade community because Fallout Tactics was also played on other platforms, but we were not a part of those. So all in all, that's how we met with Goat. And at some point we had this idea that, hey, we had a great experience playing Fallout Tactics. It was buggy, it was not really user-friendly, and so on and so forth, but we had a blast nonetheless. So we decided, hey, what if we made a game that takes the core aesthetics, core elements of what made our experience fun, but make a modern version of it. So that was 6 years ago. We had no idea whatsoever about developing games. I mean, he's a programmer, he studied programming, I'm a creative guy, I've studied 3D and photography and all of that stuff, so I'm an artist. But we had never made a game before. And we decided, nonetheless, hey, let's do it. So, as you can imagine, there was a lot of learning to be made. And that's why it also took us so long. So at some point, I think like 3 years ago or so, when the time came to found a company, a legal entity, which was supposed to represent and sell and promote and so on, do all the stupid legal stuff with the game. I've become the CEO of that company. And I quickly realized that I'm a shitty CEO and that I'm super depressed doing bureaucracy and business stuff and all of the stuff that is not the game itself, you know? And then I just randomly punched into Google game developer company in Dortmund, which is my city, the city of Dortmund. And what came up was Z Software, which is the company of Andreas, our current CEO. So I've just called there and I was like, hey guys, you don't know me. I'm a fellow game developer. I have no idea about all of this stuff. Can you please give me some advice? So I got to know Andreas because he was so nice and said, yeah, sure, come by. we'll give you some tips. So I did, and then again, and then I invited him to me, and so on and so forth. So at some point I realized that I don't want to be a CEO. It's a horrible position for me. All this business stuff, all this legal stuff, everything that goes into it. I've severely underestimated how enormous this is, and I'm also not that kind of guy at all. You know, I would rather literally clean 500 toilets with a toothbrush than fill out one legal form. It's just not something I like doing. Not something that is in my nature. So I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. So I have two choices. Either I close this down, or you, Andreas, if you're interested in this project and want to help us take on it, can become our CEO. So he was like, yeah. So since then we also have him for all the business stuff, and it's been a lot easier since then on my brains, because I can focus more on the creative part. So in the core we're a programmer guy, a creative guy, and a business guy. Also with some support from Z Software, which is still Andreas's main company, which he is also still leading as a CEO. They also give us support with some things. So yeah, this is how we all met and how the project started. And for the other people, such as our 3D artists and sound artists that worked with us over time, some of them are old friends, and some of them just I've just posted on my post-apocalyptic costumes page, Nuclear Snail Studios, which is what I also do, that, hey, I'm working on a computer game project, I'm looking for people, so hit me up. And that's how we get to know some of our today's coolest friends, and also people who have contributed to the project.
Don't take this the wrong way. There seems to be a theme in everything you do, this whole post-apocalyptic thing.
Correct. I've fell in love with it since playing Fallout 2 in the year, I think, 1999 or 2000. I don't remember when it came out, but after playing Fallout 2, which was my first post-apocalyptic game, and I've played it 25 times, at least the times I've counted. Yeah. I'm a post-apocalyptic guy. That's just the way it is. It's not that I don't like or do anything else. I also love fantasy stuff and science fiction and all of that. But post-apocalyptic is what runs in my veins.
Oh, fair enough. We all have things that we like. Just one would wonder if, preppers, etc. Let's use those as examples. They seem to also be quite focused on it. I hope we haven't gone quite over there yet.
I'm really not a prepper at all. It's a different sort of post-apocalyptic stuff. It's just, I'm more interested on the post-apocalypse the way it would be in Fallout than the way it would be in The Road. So that's main difference. So it's like a more fantastic post-apocalypse setting that I'm more drawn to, if you want.
Less pessimistic.
Yes. So for me, this whole wasteland and post-apocalyptic end-of-the-world thematic, it means, adventure, action, community, all of that. Basically all the things you would also find in Game of Thrones. It's just... I fully realize that, like, the real apocalypse, here we have the evil word real, because what is really real, who knows how it will be when it's real, but the real apocalypse is probably gonna suck. So that's not what I'm fascinated about, you know? What I'm fascinated with is, like, everything from zombie survival up to Fallout, up to Borderlands, all of that crazy, beautiful, adventurous stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to see the real apocalyptic scenarios either. They seem boring.
Yes, and quite honestly, I'm really, really glad to live in a first world country, because if you look at third world countries right now, those are apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic situations in our real world right now. So if you want to see what it would look like in a first world country after the apocalypse, just go to some country that has it a lot worse off. than any of us do. And there you have it.
Yeah, I would say you mentioned Dortmund, so you're not that far from Belgium where I am.
Not at all.
Here they actually talk about handing out iodine tablets because they're worried particularly one of the nuclear power stations might have a meltdown.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe you go out the door and a brick falls on your head. Living is dangerous.
Oh yeah, but it's the quality of the nukes here are quite terrible. They literally are worried that it's not maintainable anymore. So it's one of those things. I don't want to see what happens, but living a little bit too close to it. You're right. There are places out there that are complete, quite literally completely destroyed after some of the natural disasters recently. Anybody want to see what it looks like when things break down completely? Check those out.
So I'm really, really glad and thankful to be privileged enough and lucky enough to be able to make a computer game and make costumes and talk about and all of that, to even have the spare time and energy, which I'm not currently using on literally surviving and staving off famine. It's a privilege. It's something that I'm really, really appreciative about. Not everyone has that.
Oh, and I think you guys have done a pretty good job so far from what we've seen. The look of the game is really cool.
Quite true.
And what I've had a chance to play both on my own and cooperatively, it's definitely a lot of fun. I guess one of the things I want to ask, I understand you guys are a small team. What are the future plans for this game? Are you guys looking at, now that you've released, is there additional things that you still want to add to the game as time goes on? Or are you looking at just, doing any bug fixes that come up and then maybe moving on to a new project? Or what are your plans there?
We don't know exactly yet, so we'll see how it turns out. But for right now, we're already fixing the first bugs and working on a couple of new official maps, and from there we will just see how it goes. So we hope that everything goes well and that we have a strong, thriving community, which so far is growing by the day, which we're really happy to see. I can't at this moment promise any particular features, but we will just look into what can be meaningfully done and do what we can. And yeah, definitely some bug fixes and new maps on the way already.
Well, what kinds of things can you do with regards to Steam Workshop that you can put into the game? Like, are you guys going to have mod support? I know one of the things that we noticed is there were only a certain amount of character portraits, and in some of games that we've played in the past, you can upload a custom portrait if you want to represent your character. Would something like that be possible, or do you guys have other things that you've considered from allowing for folks to mod into the game?
No idea at this moment. So right now what is possible is, in quotation marks, just the maps. But again, with the maps, with the map editor, you can really modify your experience or create your own experience. So that is fully and very well supported in a very integrated way. I personally don't think that we will have something that allows mods like you would know, for example, from Half-Life, where you can turn it into an entirely different game or something like this. I mean, never say never, but at the current moment, there are no specific plans for something like that, no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I wasn't necessarily thinking about changing the game mechanics per se. I was more thinking that, if you had folks out there who had maybe created different types of 3D models, maybe to include things like mutants and other post-apocalyptic creatures, that they might be able to add those to the game, or...
I strongly doubt it because of the way the entire thing is made. I think it would be difficult from a technical standpoint. Again, never say never, but my take would be no.
Okay. And I had a quick question about how some of the, like, setting up a multiplayer or cooperative server works. I noticed that when I was going into to set that up there, there's an option to make it private. And I guess when I did that, I thought, oh, okay, I'll set it to private, and then people on my friends list will still see it. Can you talk about exactly, like, what is the difference between public and private, and how do we set it up? Like, we were able to invite each other to the game, and that worked just fine. But I guess basically I'm curious, how does private work?
That is something that I'm personally not fully aware of, but as far as I know, that's exactly what you've described. Only your Steam friends will be able to join. So that's the difference. If it's public, then anyone can join who's also playing the game. If it's private, then it's you and your Steam friends only.
Okay. And then would you guys consider the ability to password protect games? So that way, if you wanted to, say, leave a game listed public and maybe invite folks who weren't on your Steam list to play, then you could still at least limit who joined, or is that not something that's in the works either?
It's currently not in the works, but you could post it as a feature request into the forum, because with this sort of technical stuff, I'm really not the best guy to ask. I'm not sure if it's possible. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I agree that it would be a cool addition. I do recall that at some point we, for some reason, couldn't do it, and I think we were limited by the limitations of the PhotonNet, which is what the online server cloud service thing that our networking runs on is based on. So it's a third-party service. So there might be some limitations to that as well. But yeah, if you are really curious about it, then you might want to post it into the feature suggestions in the forums, and then our programmer, whenever he gets around to it, might actually answer to it. And then you have a more definitive answer than what I can give you.
Okay, that's cool. Well, and like I said last night when we played co-op a little bit, it was easy enough just to hit Shift-Tab, bring up the Steam friends list, and then join that way too.
Yeah, sure.
I think you kind of hit on it, Drac. People, I've been reading some of the comments on the Steam forums, etc. People do seem to want to have the ability to create their own characters, their only monsters. I guess everybody likes super mutants, and they want to make those.
I'd have to say from playing the game and seeing some of the different things there, that was one option that I didn't necessarily expect would be there, but did notice that it wasn't there. And not all post-apocalyptic stuff has to have mutants. But when you guys started talking about, radioactive and nuclear things, that was one of the things that it reminded me.
Yeah. Okay.
So
what is the question?
Oh, not so much a question, just an observation that others seem to also want to have the ability to create their own monsters, things that they can put into maps.
Yeah, sure. I guess it's the already rather flexible nature of the entire game, like the character system and editor and all that invites people to think about, like, oh, I can do this and this, what else could I possibly do? It's just that not everything is possible, so especially for a small indie team with a limited budget. So if there is not as much flexible stuff as someone wants, all we can say is, yeah, we agree it would be awesome to have that. Do you have a lot of money for us at hand so we can do this? Then we will.
Fair enough. How does progression really work? Because you mentioned that you can spec your character. You can go in and say, well, put a lot of effort into stealth and sniper rifles or the ability to aim. And you can put a lot into tank. But from game to game, from match to match, do I have progression there? Or is it just I create my character and then that's the one I keep playing with?
So the thing about characters and progression is the following. The progression system is quite simple. It's not bound to any character at all. It's just as you as a player gain rank, then you also unlock some new items, which you can give to your characters from now on. Those items are usually cool. They're not necessarily always more powerful. They might be slightly more powerful sometimes not. They just add additional ways to create your character and play the game. Basically. As far as the character system goes, though, it's not one of those games when you have a character. Or if you're really, really crazy and creative and experimental, then you have 3 characters. No. In Dustwind, you're gonna have many characters because you're gonna want to try out many different builds. So you might have 20 characters for your deathmatch games in the end, and then you might have your special guy who's designed just for playing the attacker's team on territory kill switch mode in the role that is focused on capturing the kill switch. So you can go very specific there. which doesn't mean that you have to have a specific character every time. It's just that at some point, as you gain player skill and understanding of the system, you will want to do those things. You will want to make another character or another tweak to your character to experiment. So every character, at least every human character, has 10,000 points. You can spend those 10,000 points on whatever combinations of skill and gear you want. Everything costs some of those points, and you get those 10,000 points automatically for each new character that you make. That's not something you grind for, that's not something you unlock. Just a new character equals 10,000 points. You can create a new character at any time. You can edit your characters later at any time as well, as long as you're not playing right now. So you can't do it like mid-match, but you can always go to the barracks and tweak your characters. And as you progress, you also don't gain any new points on those characters, but as I mentioned, you gain some new gear that you could give to any of your characters. So the cool thing about that, and the reason we made it like this, is that let's say you play 5 times a week, and you have a lot of spare time, and Drac has shit to do right now and can play only on weekends with you. So by the time 3 months have passed, you have unlocked everything. And you can give some cool new gear to your characters, but when you play against Drac, it will still not be super unfair. Because that new gear, let's say you've unlocked a new pulse rifle, and it's cool, and it's awesome. But it also costs like 2,000 points and those 2,000 points you have to pay for this rifle. So you can't put it, for example, into better armor or into moving faster. So Drac can still have an edge on you because he might have the old rifle, but he still has, say, for example, bonus damage on his character stats, or he has a better armor, and so on and so forth. So this system allows for more fairness between players of different skill levels. So just because you're rank 20, which is the maximum unlock rank in the game. After that, the ranks continue, but you don't get new items. Even if you rank 20, it doesn't necessarily mean that your characters are going to be better than those of someone of rank 1. But usually they will be, just because you've spent more time in the game and you understand the game and the character system better, so you will have yourself found out a better combination of skills and gear. So despite the unlocks, still the primary thing that progresses and gives you power is player skill. In this case, the skill to understand the character system and balance your character the way you want to play them. And the perfect character for one person is not necessarily a perfect character for anyone else. Maybe you're super into melee and someone else is super into snipers, as a dumbed down example, but I think you get what I mean. So this is the way the character system works.
So then skills that we skill into, is there that element that we see in other games where you choose a skill and somebody can choose sort of a counter skill, i.e. you can choose stealth and somebody can choose anti-stealth, awareness?
Oh yeah. There is actually exactly, like in the example you named, there are skills right next to each other on your character sheet. There is stealth and enemy detection. So, for example, you could put all of your points into stealth, then you're amazing at stealth, and you can put no points into enemy detection. Then you suck at detecting other people who sneak. Or you could do it the other way around. Or you could put like a bit of points into both. That is all up to you. And we took a lot of care for there being a lot of counterplay things that you can use. So, yes, absolutely.
That was something that I thought was a really interesting and neat way of leveling the playing field, so to speak. You know, everybody starts with that 10,000 points, and those points are used not just for the skills and abilities, but also for the gear. So everybody has that same amount of points to spend, and then the strategy of the game even continues into how you build your character. And the characters themselves, like you were talking about having a bunch of characters, just from the little bit that I've played so far, yeah, it seems like you want to have a toolbox, and you choose the right tool for whichever maps or game style that you're going to be playing.
Exactly. That's how it works. So it's not what some people expect, where it's like the one character and you play that character all the time. It's literally a toolbox.
Well, gee, did you have anything else? I know we're coming up on the hour here, so we have to get to Bamm's penultimate question.
I do have one, because you already said that, there is single player, there is multiplayer, there's co-op, there's PvP. But on the single player, this is purely because it's one of my points of focus, but also because you kind of mentioned Fallout. Is there some kind of story mode in there? Is there some way of, single player get a background to whatever happened to create this world?
Unfortunately not. While there is some background lore and stuff, there is no campaign mode, which is, I think, what you're referring to. Originally, and I mean very originally, at the very start, we envisioned the game as having both, just as Fallout Tactics did. But throughout the development, we had realized that a single-player campaign would just be so much work and resources and money and time and everything, we couldn't surmount it. So, that was the reason why it doesn't have both. And
I assume, despite the map editor, people can't tell full stories in those maps.
Also, unfortunately not. We also considered adding that functionality throughout the early access development, but then we went ahead and calculated how much time and effort and man-hours and assets that would cost us, just creating the tools so that you're capable to do things like string your map together, have character dialogue, have save game, load game, all of that. Just that would have taken a lot more than we had at that point. So otherwise, we would have added it. Yes.
Oh, very fair, because it is something that I think a lot of players, a lot of gamers out there, kind of underestimate how much work is involved in a story mode.
Oh, holy fuck, yes. It is so much work. It's incredible. Just to name a small example. A small featurette, if you will. Let's say from all the classic games, Fallout, Wasteland 2, all of that, you click on a character to talk to them. So let's say there is a portrait of them right there. Adds a lot of feeling, a lot of atmosphere. So let's say we have a single-player campaign where you talk to 50 different people. So that's 50 portraits. Drawing each one of those portraits costs the artist 1 to 2 days. So that would cost a shitload of money already, just for that small feature. And then we also have stuff like all the surrounding infrastructure. As I said, load game, save game, all of that. That is just not coded in a day. And I think, like what you said, is true not only for single-player stuff and story modes, it's true for game development in general. Very many gamers, not all, but many gamers think that everything is done just like that. Why don't the developers add this? Why don't the developers add that? Since I've developed this game, I know why. Before that, I also was like this. Oh, this is an awesome game. Why doesn't it have open world MMO with helicopters? Now I know. Because it's such a tremendous load of work that a lot of people underestimate by a factor of 100. I'm not joking.
No, that sounds about right. I mean, I have 30 years of software development experience. I'm old.
Oh, then you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, and I get it from customers going, why can't you just... I can just, but you're not going to like the result.
Yeah. And as I usually say, whenever someone's about to use the word just, that's where shit gets serious. Can you just? No. What follows the just is usually some tremendous feature or some tremendous change which is unsurmountable even if you have $1 million, or sometimes only surmountable if you have that. So it's not to say that nothing is possible or whatever, but yeah, no, exactly. I feel you exactly in that regard. Nothing is just.
But yeah, as somebody who loves, narrative and narration, the story and the art of storytelling, I hope there will be a Dustwind 2 with some story mode, some campaigns in it, because I'm not against post-apocalyptic, but I love hearing how this happened, what's the story behind it. All elements of fun, but story mode is where I kind of like it.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, it would be cool, but only the future will tell what will happen, whether or not there will be Dustwind 2. It's, for my part, it's too early to talk about that. Right now I'm focused on, fixing bugs, creating some new maps. But I can tell you in a nutshell what happened. So, 75 years before the current events in Dustwind, an AI went rogue. So basically like in Terminator, or similar, or in any other robot apocalypse movie or game or story, book, whatever. And then the ensuing war between robots and humans wiped out almost all the humans. We won, but really, really barely. So 90% of humanity died straight out, and the rest, 10%, well, half of them died too, because everything was destroyed. Everything. So we won at a tremendous cost, and after that, there was just chaos. So gangs have formed, some governments that were struggling for territory, and so on and so forth. And in the co-op missions, and in some solo missions, you will sometimes see the team called Sons of Phoenix. So those are the good guys. Those are a confederation, with the purpose of uniting the wastelands and rebuilding and protecting and so on and so forth. They want to bring law and order. Of course, raiders and alike disagree, because if the Sons of Phoenix are around, the raiders can't raid. So that's where the first conflicts start. So yeah, that's a bit of a background story for you, just because you said you like it, to hear background stories so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
So, but Drac's right. We're coming up on the hour, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
Which means, Drac, are you doing the penultimate question, or am I?
Well, I believe Bamm says it's your contractual obligation.
Dimitri, my friend, I apparently have a question for you. And apologies. It's not my question, it's Bamm's question. But he keeps making me ask it, and now even Drac's making me ask it. Bacon. Delicious bacon. How do you like bacon? Assuming you like bacon, and I think most people do.
I like it with fried eggs and a bit of toast.
But then what kind of beverage do you also want with your bacon?
Oh, tea. I'm a huge tea fan. Especially green tea is my specialty.
It sounds very breakfasty.
Yes. I like nice breakfast. I've actually recently been to England, rural Cornwall, and in our Airbnb there was the most amazing English breakfast around, with bacon, with eggs, tea. That was awesome. So I'm a huge English breakfast fan.
Well, when they start rolling out the beans, then I get a little bit worried.
Yeah, I also like those.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago I got to go to Ireland for a week, and the breakfasts were really great every morning. But I don't know that we've had anybody say green tea before. We've had a lot of different options with breakfast with regards to bacon, but I think this might be the first time I think we've had somebody say green tea. That's kind of an interesting combination.
Anyways, Dimitri, it was awesome having you on the show. Thanks for coming and telling us everything about Dustwind. I know it's weird that we're doing this the week after, or almost a week after, as we said, from release. Normally we do them before. But, it's summer and Gamescom is coming and it's just chaos at the moment. But it is a nice game. It looks really awesome, as Drac says. The humor in it is fun. As you mentioned, the plungers, that's just adds a little bit extra. Even if Goat thinks it's not realistic. I can only recommend everybody out there to go for this. It is a fun game. It is a great game. And it needs more attention. It needs a lot more attention. Because everybody wants to play first-person shooter, third-person shooters, and for some reason, Battle Royale. Please don't put Battle Royale in this game. It will get a little bit excessive. But these kind of games keep living on because there's a fan base out there. And people love this kind of gaming. I think we need more of it.
Thank you. And also, thanks for having me on your podcast. And maybe we meet one day in real life, be it in California or somewhere here around in Europe.
Yeah, that would be cool. Always appreciate getting a chance to meet up with folks, putting a face to the name, so to speak. But yeah, dude, thanks for coming on. And for the folks out there, you can check it out on Steam for $17.99, although until the 22nd of the month, it's on sale at 20% off, so you can even get a discount.
Well, that was everything from us. I'm G, and catch you all possibly next week when we've done Gamescom.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, and come get your ass kicked on the post-apocalyptic battlefield of Dustwind.